Okay, everybody, I just finished watching the 2025 War of the Worlds starring Ice Cube. This movie's been in all the headlines this whole week. A lot of people have been calling it the worst movie of the year. A lot of people have been calling it the worst movie of all time. When it first dropped this week, it had a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes when it started. I think it's up to maybe 17% now, which, to be fair, is probably higher than the worst movies in some franchises. Like, it's probably higher than the lowest rated Halloween or Friday the 13th. But the million dollar question when I checked this out was, is this movie as bad as the hype? Is this movie as bad as they say it is? And honestly, yeah, it is. The script on this thing is horrific, if you want to call it a script. There's been a lot of talk, especially, usually it's a January movie that'll come out, something like a Night Swim or a Tarot from 2024, where people will say that the script is so bad that it has to be written by AI. And I feel like that is true for this movie as well. Nobody in this movie talks like a regular person, not anybody. I think that this movie was written by AI, and then they left a few blanks for Ice Cube. Just Ice Cube. And when he looked at it and said, well, what am I supposed to say here? It's blank. They just say something Ice Cube would say. So what you'll get is every other character talking like no human has ever talked before, and then you'll get Ice Cube very occasionally going, damn! Like, the script that I'm working on right now is better than this by leaps and bounds. Movies like this, they make me really mad because you can really tell that there wasn't some artistic vision. This movie felt very passionless. It didn't feel like anybody wanted to be in this movie. Oh my god, it hurt my head. It pissed me off, honestly, is what it did, because this movie had a budget, I had to look this up. This movie had a budget of $65 million. $65 million. And you're gonna come up with a script like this? Dude, I challenge you right now. Give me $65 million with one of my scripts, and let's run it. Let's do it. With $65 million? You fucking kidding me? You had $65 million and this is the best you got? Like, what are we doing here, man? And yeah, like we were saying, the script is really bad. Ice Cube he's either super just, like, he just popped a Xanax and he's like, oh, well, I have to do this and my kids, they need me. Then the occasional, like, damn! Or get your skinny ass over here, you know? And there was at least 5 or 6 times during this movie where I had to say, yeah, Ice, you didn't want to do another take of that? Like, we can just try that again, right? The story in this movie is quite stupid. Now, I'm not super attached to the original War of the Worlds. I say original, as in the original from 2006 that Tom Cruise is in. I'm not super attached to that. And I'm not super attached to the H.G. Wells story either. And I didn't go watch the Tom Cruise movie before this one to try to compare the two, because obviously there wasn't going to be any comparing these two. So I don't actually know if this is trying to be super close to the story of that. I don't think it is, though. But oh my god, this was a rough one to get through story-wise. This was tough. So you've got the War of the Worlds aliens, and they're on their tripods, they're coming down and everything, and it gets discovered by Ice Cube and all of his friends that they are trying to siphon and eat our data, and that's what they're after. They're after the data. And so they're targeting data centers and, all this other stuff. And there's like a kind of anti-government like hacker subplot going on, and it's a mess, man. It's a mess. The final thing that they need to defeat the aliens in the end, I'm not going to spoil it because, you know, maybe you want to go subject yourself to this too, I don't know. But the final thing that they need to defeat the aliens is something that they mentioned one time 55 minutes earlier and never brought up again until they said, oh, why don't we just use that thing that we brought up once an hour ago? And when they bring it up the first time, nobody even says anything about it. At least I don't remember anybody saying anything about it, because you read about it in a headline. That's the other thing too about this movie, is it is entirely on Ice Cube's computer screen and eventually his phone screen. It is, I think I've been seeing them call it screen life style, which I don't like. It's not for me personally. I hate found footage, and this isn't necessarily found footage, but it's close enough to found footage where I just don't like it. Like, I was never super huge on Unfriended or Host or anything like that. Like, I know they're good, they're just not for me. So a whole movie where I'm just on Ice Cube's desktop as he's going to 15 million different tabs, and he's hanging up with this call, and he's taking this call, he's calling his son, he's checking his daughter's surveillance, he's looking at the camera in his daughter's fridge. And yeah, why does Ice Cube have a camera in his daughter's fridge that he can look at via surveillance? Because he's like a government agent and stuff, and he does, you know, surveillance and stuff like that. It's so many things were just like, what? Why? What is this? And as if all that wasn't bad enough, you know how you'd watch a movie from the 80s or the 90s, and they would go get lunch, and you'd be like, hey, look, they're drinking a Coke. But that was it. They weren't, oh, let me get one delicious Coca-Cola, please, and turn the label towards the camera. Oh boy, that's some tasty Coke. You know, it wasn't like that, right? This movie is a giant ad. This movie's a giant ad for Amazon Prime and Microsoft Teams, kind of, and Tesla, and just like, oh my god. Part of the resolution of this movie is they need to get a flash drive from point A, where some of the characters are, to point B, where Ice Cube is. But they can't walk there or run there because time is of the essence. And so one of the characters, who is an Amazon delivery driver, he says, I know what to do. And he pulls out a delivery drone. And he does a whole ad read for the drone in the middle of this movie, in the middle of this crisis situation. Time is of the essence, and this guy's sitting there like, this is the latest model of this delivery drone. They teach us how to drive them all. And then he puts on his Oculus headset, and he's flying the thing over. But before he can do that, he says, hey, Ice, I can't start, the drone won't go unless you make a purchase on Amazon. So we have to go back to Ice Cube's desktop and watch him type in Amazon, type in flash drive, pick one, purchase the flash drive, and then the drone can go deliver the flash drive. It's like, what? What is happening right now? It honestly, it was a little embarrassing. It was a little embarrassing. So overall, this thing was really bad. Like, really bad. But I do have one thing to say about how bad this movie is, because I feel like there is a line that you have to draw here, and the line is people saying this is the worst movie ever made. And that's where I think the line has to be drawn, because it is one thing if you come on here and you say this movie sucked and this movie was really bad, because nobody's going to argue with that. Like, I know people always say, I watched a video a couple weeks ago that was called every Pokemon is someone's favorite Pokemon. And I guess that's true. I mean, there's like 1,000 of them now, so like the chances that every single one of them is someone's favorite, yeah, sure, why not? So you could kind of make an argument like, oh yeah, you know, every movie is someone's favorite movie, right? But I really don't think that there's going to be that many people that are jumping on to defend this, going, no, dude, this is my favorite movie ever, and this is the best, you know? So I don't think it's ridiculous at all, and I don't think it's that much of an opinion piece to come on here and say this movie is terrible, right? But to say this is the worst movie ever made, that is crazy. Because I've seen some shit, okay? I can think of a couple movies that are considerably worse than this, okay? And I'm sure I could go watch Amityville Death Toilet, which I will eventually on this channel. But I'm sure I could go watch Amityville Death Toilet and be like, yeah, okay, War of the Worlds is better than that. If you're talking about movies that have been seen by a wide audience and have a big following, you ever seen Birdemic? Shock and Terror? Dude, I gotta tell you, there is no way that Birdemic is better than War of the Worlds, okay? So to say this is the worst movie ever made, I think that's a bridge too far for me. Because there are 100% like a lot of movies that are worse than this, especially off of a $65 million budget. Of course you're going to be better than fucking Birdemic or Amityville Vibrator, right? But being better than Birdemic and Amityville fucking VR or whatever, that's not good enough. That is not good enough. Okay, and this is the part that pisses me off about this movie and movies like this. Being not the worst thing that has ever been made is not good enough. Okay? When you make something, you need to fucking make something that is trying to be good. Okay? You need to make something with passion. You need to fucking do it. It could come out bad. I don't know. And I don't know these people that made this movie. So they could have been trying their hardest. I don't know. But from my perspective, just listening to this script as the characters are saying it, I'm like, no. This was not a passion project. This was not something that somebody has been dying to make. This was a, hey, why don't we do something with this IP, because there hasn't been a big motion picture since 2006. I think there was a 2019 or 2021 War of the Worlds movie, but that was probably like a really bad, whatever. Probably worse than this, but you get the idea. That's why movies like this really rub me the wrong way, because I want to see, I think there is enjoyment to be had with movies that are not very good, but they really try their best, and you could tell that it was like a passion project. They really wanted to do it. They had fun while they were making it. The thing that I'm thinking of specifically is this movie, The Mutilator, which we'll talk about at some point. But is it a good movie? Fuck no. It's not good at all. The script is bad. The acting is, and there was a lot of problems with the effects and everything like that, but you look at the behind the scenes of them making The Mutilator, and you can tell that this was such a passion project for the people that were making it, and the director and the writer, and the guy that did the practical effects on The Mutilator, he did the practical effects on Nightmare on fucking Elm Street, and he said that the most fun he's ever had working on a movie is the fucking Mutilator, okay? Movies like that are awesome. Even if they're not good, they're still awesome, right? Movies like this, they can't be defended, in my opinion. They can't be defended. Now I will say though, and this is where I'll kind of start to wrap up. There were definitely some moments in this that did make me laugh out of fucking embarrassment. Like the fucking I don't know what I've had on the background here the whole video, but I'm going to put up probably the most infamous frame from this movie, and that is Ice Cube's big stupid face on a hooded hacker figure with the caption, "Let's disrupt some shit." All right, fucking see that? That is a frame in a studio motion picture. This movie wasn't in theaters, but this was a frame on my television an hour ago. What are we doing here? You know? So in conclusion, is this movie as bad as everybody has been saying that it is for this entire week? Yes, it completely is. It is so bad, it's terrible. It does have a few so bad that it's good moments that will probably, if you're like me, they will make you laugh on pure cringe and embarrassment alone. So I would say that this movie's probably worth watching once and never going back to again. That's like, I plan on never watching this ever again. But like I said, you know, $65 million. Give me $65 million and give me the pen. Let's run it, dude. Let's run it. Eat shit, War of the Worlds. I'm coming for you, dog. And I'm not getting Ice Cube for my movie. But, you know, all that to say that movies like this give me a lot of hope that I can make it in the industry, because if people are making stuff like this with scripts like this and directing like this, and they're using $65 million for it, and you know, this movie doesn't have a box office, but like, it's on Prime Video and a lot of people are watching it. So if people who are doing a piss poor job at their jobs are making that happen, then I guess there's hope for me after all. So my final score for War of the Worlds 2025, if for no other reason than I don't ever want to give out 0 stars on something, also because you can't give out 0 stars on Letterboxd for some reason, otherwise it just thinks you didn't rate the movie, I am going to give War of the Worlds 2025 half of an Ice Cube out of 5. All right, so that's our review of War of the Worlds 2025. It was a challenge to get through. There was a couple times where I was looking down at my watch going, when did I start this and what time is it now? But then I went and I watched The Monkey after that, and I had a much better time. And, you know, I'll go see Weapons this weekend, and that'll make me feel a lot better. So with all that being said, I will catch you on the next video, which is either going to be a Weapons review, or it is going to be the next main video on the channel, which I'm very excited about, which will come out on Monday. So until then, I will see you next time. Peace out, sickos.